Hi, this is Jeff. Let's get disarranged.
Let's get disarranged.
Welcome to the Disarrangement, hosted by the two coolest cats around, Austin Blakely and Nick Branscombe. Prepare to get disarranged.
Come one, come all, for what writes and undulates in your ears is not for the faint of heart. Behold! This is the Disarrangement with your host Austin Blakely and Nick Branscombe. How's it going, Nick?
Greetings, friends of Earth and beyond.
Welcome. Nick, okay, so it's going to be in the recording too. I think I'll put it on the Patreon if y'all want some conversation beforehand. It will be on Patreon. All that's still up and good, but so I didn't prepare a joke for Nick, unfortunately. Sad panda.
We need like a sad sound effect. Wah, wah, wah.
That'll work. So basically what I did is I just looked one up. So Nick, how many people with paranoia does it take to change a light bulb?
I don't know.
Who's asking?
Who's asking? Oh, ha!
Okay. Yeah, it was a bad one. But
okay.
It could have been worse.
It's okay. I mean,
At least it was there.
Not all dad jokes are going to be good.
Yeah, at least it was there.
Not all dad jokes can just be superb and funny. Some of them have to be a little bad because they have to be more cheesy than the other one. So.
Yeah. So, well, and that's what I've never understood about dad jokes, because, like, someone will say a dad joke to me, and it will either do one of two things to me. It'll either piss me off, or it'll kill me, and I just bust out laughing and can't stop.
Piss you off?
And, yeah, I think dad jokes do a thing where it's just you almost feel like whoever told you that's wife, where you're just kind of like... Can we be serious for a second? Because that's typically how they come to it. The best way I can explain it is when we were in Virginia, me and Needham kept laying them on me. But yeah. I was giving him the benefit of the doubt that he was legitimately talking to me. And then he would just trick me into them, and then at that point I'm frustrated. I'm mad. I'm just like, quit it, like we're done.
I keep falling for it,
and he's just grinning like that. That's the best part is, after the fact, as I'm thinking about it, yes, it was hilarious. It was absolutely hilarious. In the moment, I was a little upset, but either way, we've got a special show for y'all, and it's it's been 2 weeks. It's been 2 weeks. Okay, I was just making sure I had my weeks right.
Yes, sir. We're in the midst of spooky season now.
We are
so
actually
we're being
in
a little more
October
selective
now.
with our guests this month.
Yeah. So we've got Mr. Jeffrey Cochran with us, filmmaker extraordinaire. Yes. How you doing, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. So of course I just met you in like the last 10 minutes. But Nick knows you.
Well, actually, no. I've never met him too. This is the first time
you're meeting him too.
Dad,
okay, so you work with Jake.
Yeah.
That's how. Okay.
Yeah, that's how Dad was telling me that he makes indie horror films, and I thought that would be cool to.
Absolutely awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
So when. Like, is there a thought process that happens when you start to do that? Or is it like do you have a story you want to tell? Or is it just like, I'm doing a movie this year? Or and you don't know what it's about. You're just doing it.
For some people, it's like, for me, it's I get a story that I want to tell and go from there, start with the writing. And it's a lot bigger than you think. There's dozens.
I'm sure it's humongous.
Well, there's dozens of independent
imagine.
filmmakers in North Carolina.
Really?
And some of them are like that, where they want to pump out a movie every couple months, and they will, and just throw it on YouTube.
Well, I knew like Alex did that sort of stuff, but I just don't have a whole lot of friends that are into that sort of thing. A lot of like we've had Ethan on, and I don't think he's ever done like a stretched
a
movie.
full-length film.
And it was a surprise to me. I didn't know about it until I got into it myself.
And then there's just this whole following.
And there's this whole group. Yeah.
Well, and as Nick would say, you know, with the whole, because I'm pretty sure we've had this conversation. You were saying that Evil Dead was, or maybe it was Evil Dead 2 was shot here.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Evil
Dead 2?
No, the first, I don't know about the second Evil Dead, but the first Evil Dead was filmed
That would
in
make sense.
Tennessee.
Oh, the first
So
one was in Tennessee.
It's close.
But
I don't know about the other ones.
I don't know which one it was, whether it was the first one or the second one, but it was.
I thought we had that. Maybe I had that
somewhere
conversation
around North Wilkesboro.
Okay.
For at least part of it,
Which is awesome.
It's not there anymore, but the cabin was there.
Well, I'm pretty sure the cabin was in Tennessee. That's actually where I got the line in Not Ready for the Party when I said through the hills of Tennessee. That's where I was getting that from, was they were traveling into that
whole
cabin.
song's an Evil Dead song.
Yeah.
But yeah, so before we kind of deep dive into all the fun stuff in your brain, explain to us who you are on the regular. You know, we obviously know you make films and stuff, so
nobody.
No, well, that's how I feel too.
I mean, I work with Jake. We do manufacturing and just very normal.
They put stuff on airplanes.
Well, we've had that conversation too with Jake, kind of, because he said he was more kind of testing things. Do you work kind of in that department, or you?
I actually build the things.
You're building them, and then he said, "Oh, that is insane." And we were kind of talking too about, you know, like some of the didn't he say something about like some of those parts ended up on like a crash plane or something like that? Which obviously wasn't their fault. It was just
it can happen.
I mean, like, but to think about, like, I tinkered with something that was on that. Not saying that you did anything.
Well, we build parts for practically all planes. Military,
you never know
commercial,
where it'll end up.
Private. So if one crashes, we probably have a part on it. It didn't cause it, but we probably have a part on it.
But that's why it amazes me. It's just, well, I know a lot of parts go into planes, but at the same time, it's just like I had my hands on that, you know, and there it is on the news, or even, you know, like military planes, like just knowing what that military plane is out. I mean, it's serving a job, and you help put that together. Well, maybe not put the plane together, but you get what I mean. You get what I mean. I just find that really cool. But other than work, you know, do you do anything like, sports fan? You like a little bit of sports?
Panthers.
Oh, okay.
It's unfortunate.
Got another
it
Panthers.
is.
Well, unfortunate. Well, that means.
Right
but
now.
I'll admit it, Panthers fan.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we
obviously
are.
same.
Yeah.
That's we've got Panther stuff everywhere. It's we'll have some good discussion about
I was gonna say, like, I have this rip on this shirt I've noticed, but it's pretty appropriate because the Panthers do a pretty good job of ripping my heart out every Sunday. A large.
A large. Yeah. The reason I ask is because I found a cool shirt the other day and I did not get it, but if it is still there, I will get it. It's a medium. But if you could wear it, it's got Kuechly and Cam Newton, and it's like an image of, like, I guess that era.
So is that like a Goodwill or something?
It was at the thrift store across from Walmart.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was over there. They've got they get Panther stuff all the time, but that shirt in particular, I was like, I bet Nick could wear that. It was just a cool one. Yeah. Like the imagery on it.
Take me back to better times, that's for sure.
So just football or anything else? You play golf?
Not much.
I'm not a golf fan.
Like, I'll mess around with a bunch of sports, but
he's a golf fan.
Not avidly, no.
Well, I was saying, like, avid, like, you know, archery, you know, do any kind of weird sport like that?
I do have a crossbow.
Crossbow? Okay, cool.
That's very dangerous. No, I did a little bit of archery, but I've never messed with a crossbow. My brother did some hunting with a crossbow, but I don't even know if it was a proper crossbow. if that makes sense. Like, I don't know if it's like
more like just a bow and arrow.
Yeah, it was basically just a bow and arrow. It was like, it had a handle on it, but it wasn't like you could shoot it sideways. Basically, that's the whole the equipment for the actual bow. He called it a crossbow. I think it was just because of the way he was holding it, not necessarily that it was I mean, he was still having to pull everything, and it's not like it would pull in lock or anything, which is what makes the crossbow dangerous. But So, any other thing? Well, I knew we were kind of talking about a podcast. Do you have a podcast?
We do a lot in the horror world, I guess. We do the movies. There's like a group of us.
Okay.
And we do movies. We also do a podcast on local haunts and dark
cool.
history called Carolina Haints. And
I love that name. Carolina Haints.
yeah, we just started
awesome.
our 6th season. And I write
Oh,
for
so you've
it.
been doing it for a while.
Yeah, I write it, and my partner narrates it and produces it.
What's the name of the first podcast you were talking about, where you were talking about horror movies?
That's one that Dan and Sammy do. Wreak Havoc Film Buffs podcast.
Okay.
And they'll talk about just movies in general.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
a lot
you
of
can
times,
find these on like Spotify
Yeah.
and Apple Music, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then we also do a horror film festival that just wrapped up last weekend. So it's usually
Right before October.
usually at the end of September, beginning of October, because everyone we know works in haunted houses. So they're
gotta get
busy
ready
all
for that,
October.
They're
yeah.
gonna be busy.
Yeah.
They're gonna be busy, and that takes a certain type of person too to run. I remember as a kid being involved in haunted trails and stuff, and just wrecking everything every time. Like I'm moving the people too fast. I'm moving the people too slow. Then they took me away from that, and then I was supposed to do something or trigger something, and I was just really bad at it. It was not for me. They liked me because I would shut up and grunt.
Yeah.
Like I would just make noise, like I guess kind of a Frankensteinish dumb monster sort of thing. But at the same time, I just couldn't get the timing right, and I just ruined the trail. But
There's a lot to it. It's a production.
it is straight up a production. My uncle used to do a haunted trail out on the mountain where they live. Actually, Nick, I'm surprised. We might have saw some of them. When our walks through there, when we were doing the music video and stuff, did we ever see any outlets? There's spontaneous outlets all throughout that mountain. And it's because of the haunted trail. They had an electrician friend run power out there.
I bet now if we go back and look though, we'll probably see some.
You'll find them everywhere.
Yeah.
And they're all protected, but they would do stuff like have the hole pits with the flaps, and it jumps out, and there's strobe lights and like all that crazy stuff. They'd swing. I remember this was before I was born, but there's a picture of it. My brother, he was in a Jason mask with a chainsaw, and he was the lightest. So they'd swing him from these trees, like he'd just come down over everybody's head with a chainsaw in a Jason mask, which it didn't make any sense, but it was what they could get their hands on.
Well, it would make sense, I guess, if you were watching like, Jason X or something.
Yeah, maybe.
Jason in space.
Well, that was well before that time too. So.
Yeah.
But it's awesome. So you can find those podcasts in where you found this one.
Probably.
I'll
All the normal podcast places.
Yeah,
I'll try to get all
the
the links put in the YouTube.
Yeah, that is
video.
So cool to that. And now obviously this was unintentional, but obviously we're trying to get kind of hints of spook in with October on this podcast. And so the last one we did with our buddy Chandler, which he is more of a film critic, I would say. And they do a podcast, and they through the month of October, well, really starting at the end of September into October, they do a whole run of like movies at his house. And I think this year, what did he say? It was 115, 120?
It's 120. Yeah.
I think it was about 120. And
yeah.
last year he only did 90, but just every day. I mean, and it's just like,
did he say if he has all these movies on like Blu-ray?
He does.
Oh, okay.
He's got every single, and a lot of them are old.
Yeah.
A lot of them are like 70s and 80s movies, which that's what I find more incredible, because he's not just playing your stereotypical horror movies, the real big ones.
Yeah,
He's
what was like the first one?
Seen.
The first one so he started on September 24th. And what was the first movie he did? It was called like Bubba Tep or something like that.
Babadook.
No, not that. It's called like Bo
I think it was Boba Tep or
Bo Hepatep or something like that. I don't remember how do you pronounce it.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. was like,
Bubba Hotep.
Yes,
Bubba Hotep.
that's what
There
it
you
was.
go.
Yeah.
That was the first movie, and Needham said I needed to go watch that one, but
Yeah,
I
I've
couldn't
never
get
seen
over
it.
But Bubba Hotep, he was doing like the Tick, or is it Ticks? May have been Tick or Ticks. That one looked
I
interesting.
think he was doing like one of the bigger ones. I think he was doing was the Exorcist. I think the Exorcist is in
which
the
I don't
in the
think
lineup.
he's done in a while.
Yeah.
So he tries to rotate them.
Yeah,
but
sure.
that's his thing, and they'll do commentaries, like listen and watch commentaries. They'll tell you where to stop in the movie, and then you start the podcast and that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's cool because we thought we was going to get the aspect of just the filmmaker, but it sounds like you're doing a little bit of both.
I don't do so much of that. I have done it with them in the past.
Okay.
But that podcast, they will do similar things. They'll play the movie kind of in the background.
Yeah.
And then just talk about it and tell stories about it and behind the scenes of it and stuff like that.
Yeah, and like our buddy Chandler too, he gets way more in depth than I'd ever thought of in a movie. Like Nick's listened to it. I tried to listen to a little bit of it, but I kind of want to watch the movie while I'm listening to Chandler. That was kind of the reason.
Chandler, like when he, deep dives into a
tries to
film,
think of somewhat like what the director's
he knows
thinking during
he knows
the
who
time.
the assistant lighting person was on the movie.
Yeah.
Like that's
Way
how
too far.
in depth he gets.
Way too much
and
research.
I know people that are that way, but I am not. I just want to be entertained.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of the way I feel, but it's cool. It's cool, nuancy things. Like if it's a movie I'm passionate about, I probably would. But so obviously with the movie making thing, like how has that progressed? Because we sort of kind of talked about that too at the beginning, where I kind of found you on what is it? IMDb.
IMDb.
However you say it.
D-
I found you on
IMDb,
there.
yeah.
IMDb. There you go. Yeah. And you do just kind of looking through things. It was just that you were doing so many different jobs. It seemed like
It was, especially in the beginning. How it turned out is kind of a long story, but that's why we're here, right?
That's why we're here.
I wasn't on Facebook for a really long time. It just
Smart man.
irked me. Well, and that was from MySpace. When
I enjoyed MySpace, though.
I was there as like everybody knows, like MySpace. You got to get on MySpace. Get on MySpace. MySpace.
Yeah.
So I'm like, fine. And back then, it took like all day to set up a wall. And
absolutely.
do this whole thing.
Get your music right.
And then like a month later, everybody was off of MySpace and onto Facebook. And I'm like, well, I'm not doing this again.
Yeah.
So I put
already done it
Facebook.
once.
So I put Facebook on a 10-year probation to see if it was going to stick around.
Stay around. And then when it did.
And a few years ago, I was like, okay, I guess it's going to be here. So I went on Facebook, and a couple of guys that I had lost touch with from the past, I went on and looked them up. And this one guy in particular, Sammy, I found
Shout out
him.
to Sammy.
Yeah, Sammy Castle. I found him, reached out to him. Hey, how you doing? Hadn't seen him in 10 years. Like, what you been up to? And he lists all this stuff, and he's listing, actor, listing. I was like, wait,
wow,
acting? This is North Carolina. What are you acting? And him and this guy, Dan, had wanted to do a zombie movie for $1,000. That was his budget. So he got like all his family to be actors and just GoPros, and just when he needed people, he would just send out something on Facebook. So Sammy saw this thing on Facebook, and for him and his wife's 13th wedding anniversary, they went to be in a zombie horde. And from from that, he met Dan, and they got to talking, and they've actually become business partners in Wreak Havoc Productions, which I work with closely. And so he's telling me all this, and I'm like, well, I can support my friends. So I went out and got a copy of this movie, and they were telling me about a film festival that they were doing. So I went to the next film festival, and I ordered the movie. It came in, and it's quite possibly the worst zombie movie ever made.
That's what made it good, though, right?
Yeah.
Because if it was good, I'd have went, damn, they did a good job.
Yeah.
But it was not that good. So I went, well, I can do better than this.
Ah, so it inspired.
So but I was like, but I don't know how to make movies. I know it starts with a story.
Yeah.
Let's see if I could do that first.
So do you start?
So you did a lot of writing.
So I started writing.
You start like just with a laptop and just start writing your kind of the thoughts you have for it in your head down.
My process is a little bit different than people who are actually writers.
You're a writer if you're doing it. Don't say actual writer. You're a writer.
I don't do an outline. I don't really I'll have an idea and it will grow from there.
Okay.
And it might be a short story. It might be a feature story. It might be a series. When I get the idea, I'm not sure what it is. It tells me what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I'm
you let it, you
kind of
just
like
let it happen.
Song making. If you try to force it, it's not as good.
Yeah. You have to
it goes where it wants to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how I kind of started writing. So at 50 years old, I wrote the first thing I ever wrote. I wrote a novel.
Okay.
Never wrote anything before.
So really started out
wasn't
with
very
kind
good
of
in English.
Book writing sort of thing.
Well, and from there, I just wanted to know if I could come up with a story.
Yeah.
So I just sat down and started writing, and that's what came of it. And so then...
What was that book called? Is that something you can get?
It's on Amazon. It's Sympathy for the Devil.
That's a badass name.
All the
It's
chapter
a Rolling
titles
Stones song too, ain't it?
Is it a Rolling Stone song?
All the chapter titles are Rolling Stone songs.
Oh, okay.
He caught on.
Because you can't copyright a song title. Only a song.
Yeah.
I do know that.
So,
Such a good idea.
So after that, I was like, okay, I have a story. Now what? So I went to their next film festival and talked to them and kind of said, hey, how can I get involved? And from then on out, I've kind of been involved in all the projects that they've done and kind of branched out with other people as well. So for each thing, I kind of tried to do something different and learn a different aspect of it, whether it be producer or sound or editing, or I've done a little bit of directing, and now that's all come together, and I started making my own movie last month. We're filming again this weekend.
So we're fresh.
And so it's the first one that I've written, produced, and directed. I've done all of those things individually for other people's projects.
Yeah.
But this is the first one that's technically my project.
Now,
awesome.
is this like self-budgeted, or are you getting budgeting from somewhere else?
For the most part, it's self-budgeting
Okay.
and crowdfunding and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how the indie world works. It's
Yeah.
like, if y'all want it to be here, then
Yeah.
I'm going to need some support. And generally, if you got the right community backing you, they can help you make it happen. And that's what we figured out with playing music. You about have to have something. But that sounds cool too, because I remember we said it was more of kind of you were doing it, as in I kind of want to learn each job of the step. But it almost sounds like to me that you were like, you kind of found an interest in it, so you just started like finding your way into it, and then you started to notice, now I've got all these skills.
Yeah.
You know,
and it's
so
kind of
was
my
it initially
process.
that you were like, no, I'm gonna end with I want to make a movie,
Yeah.
or did you just kind of want to get involved some way?
A little bit of both. Like,
bit of both.
whenever I watched that zombie movie, and I said, well, I
It's the
can do
worst
better.
zombie movie I've ever seen.
And everybody I've
wanna
shown
see
it
it
to
now.
I can show it to you.
I want to see it so bad.
And everybody I've shown it to has went, yeah, I could do better than this. But they're just saying that.
They're not doing it.
And I'm the type of person where if I'm saying it, I'm going to at least attempt it.
Yeah.
So that's where all this has come from. And, but yes, I'm also like, if I don't know something very well, I want to research it. I want to learn it. I want to do it. So yeah, when all these different aspects and jobs of filmmaking were presented, I wanted to know sound and I wanted to know editing.
So did this also come from, I mean, like before you got into this field, I mean, did you have like this, just deep love for horror movies and that kind of sparked your interest a little bit?
Yeah, horror is
wasn't
what
just like
came
a random.
natural. Yeah, it was. I mean,
that's what you gravitated towards.
Yeah, that's what I gravitate to, and that's what most of the people that are in our little circle gravitates to. But there are one or two that will make dramas and comedies, and that's the movies they make, and that's fine too. Yeah. But
you're
for
kind of
most
all
of
doing
us,
the same stuff.
horror just kind of comes natural.
But this wasn't a thing. It was like when you were like a kid or something. You were like, man, I'd like to make films when I'm older. It just random. Yeah,
just kind of
randomly happened. I mean, you saw that zombie movie and you were like,
it's always been a cool thing, but you just never think that that's something that
you would do.
Well, it's like you said.
That's kind of the way I'm thinking. Because for me, like, some people say this to me, like, about music. It's just like, well, I didn't just wake up one morning and say I want an album. Like, and I'm just like, well, I didn't necessarily either. But also, too, like, that's kind of how it evolves, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, I did, like you were saying, I did something about it. I actually went and learned an instrument, and it got me involved in creating music. But, like, if anything that anybody pulls from this part of the podcast is that literally if you set your mind to it, you will do it. Proof. Sitting in this room, like, just thinking about that.
You might not do a good job at it, but you can do it.
But I'm just saying, like, that's the whole thing. Is just like at that point you were just like, this movie is to the point of where I'm seeing where it could be better. Mm-hmm. You're looking at it as if I did this movie, if I was to have done this movie, how would it have come out? That's what I think is so cool is how you approached it instead of, Now, most people probably wouldn't have asked that question if I could have done this movie better, But it's also cool that you went in with those people, too, that created that movie and not only, helped them grow, but, they kind of took you in too. Like, everybody's growing from this. Everybody's getting better.
Yeah, it's a good little group when we're always kind of expanding and bringing more people into it. So it's been good working with them.
They helping you with this project too?
Yes.
Okay.
And we kind of, that's how we do it. Pretty much there's a group of 5 or 6 writers within the group. And whoever has a film ready to do, we'll all kind of go help them. Okay. And then we'll all go kind of help the next guy. And now it's my turn, so they're all coming to help me.
Well, one thing, just because I've gotten into doing photography and videography here in the last year or so, when you're making these types of movies, are you... I have like a DSLR, right? Mm-hmm. Do you make movies with those, or are you using more like kind of big type cameras?
It depends on your budget. There are some people that have the Reds and the Arias and all that.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you can do the same thing with a good DSLR, Blackmagic, Panasonic, Sony, Fuji. They've all got the same capabilities now.
Yeah. Okay.
It might not go 6K and 8K, but they've all got 4K.
See now I'm getting inspired. Now I want to go make my own zombie movie.
Well, and just thinking about that too is that we're at a day and age where you have access.
Yeah, the technology is out there that anybody can do it if they take the time to put everything together.
I've always said that as far as the internet is concerned, I think the most revolutionary thing about the internet has been YouTube.
Yeah.
For good or bad. Like, it's been the most revolutionary. Because, I mean, like, now people could...
It's called content.
These people that had these little short films that they were making on their little cameras and camcorders and stuff, they could actually show them to the world now, when YouTube came about and everything. So
and we know there's a lot of people that we know that's all they want to do. They want to make content for YouTube, and they're making horror movies and just throwing them on YouTube.
Yeah,
snippets.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and we did, I'm not saying this is the way to do things, because the professional is sitting to the right of us. But when we were doing the Wicked Lady video, we kind of knew what we wanted, but we really didn't know how to approach it or what to do or whatever. So the first things first, I get the crappiest camera I can get my hands on that's tape that I can actually convert to a digital file. And me and Nick go walking through the woods where that haunted trail was. And we kind of just take shots first to kind of see what comes of it, what comes out of that footage. And the whole point was to get really kind of destroyed, fizzy footage to help the music video.
Right.
And then later we had decided to do some performance shots. So we went with our actual videographer who kind of did those well, where like all of our footage was damaged or fucked up in some way, or
there's an art
and that
to
told
that.
the story.
I've tried the camera work, and
it's hard.
There's an art to. It's more than just hitting the button and recording it. You got to have the eye for what looks right,
exactly,
and lighting and all of that, and I don't have it.
That was probably my biggest trouble with that project, was when we were actually shooting, because we shot a bit of it was this couple of that are friends of me and Steph's. It's Marianne and Tommy, shout out. Marianne is the actual Wicked Lady. So they got her all makeuped up, and I don't know how you say that.
Made up.
Made up. There you go. Made up. And I had an old hatchet laying around, so the whole premise was Marianne was going to chase Tommy through the woods. That was the whole thing. So there was the whole idea of doing it. Like we even did a little thing of her throwing the axe and hitting the tree and all that stuff. And it's terrible. It's really corny.
What's funny is I think all the videos that was the band that me and him playing, Nature of Our Own Minds, I think every video that we did besides The Devil Went Down to Georgia had some theme of horror in the video.
Well, it was because of your writing, sir.
The
way you were writing lyrics, it only made sense.
And Not Ready for the Party, Gage is like the actor, I guess you could call him an actor for the video.
Yeah, that was my nephew.
He's his nephew, but he was like the main focus of the video, and and it's like he's going through these periods of being at a party, but then all of a sudden everybody's gone and the lights go out, and it's dark and everybody. And then he was describing Wicked Lady, and then the last video we did, Freak Out, is a song about sleep paralysis.
Okay,
so we straight up had a demon in that one.
Yeah,
straight up had a shadow, which was really our drummer Corey, but just he's long and lanky with a lot of hair. So if he makes a weird
he did
head
that
bob,
he did that and Not Ready for the Party too.
Yeah, he pretty much did the same.
All
thing.
you had to do, his hair was so long, so all he had to do was flip his hair in front of his face like this, and then he's all of a sudden like a demon.
Ethan just shadow figures him, and it looks crazy. Like the stuff in Not Ready was good, but in the Freak Out, the way he did Corey going over the bed, like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, that scared the shit out of me. Like, but anyway, so I mean, we've kind of found ways to fudge it or whatever. But in that one, just using that camera was the problem. It wasn't, the footage was kind of doing what we wanted it to, but just trying, half the time I can't see what's going on. So like, I don't know if I'm getting it. I don't know what's like we had to take it, do a bunch of take. So that's the only experience I have with that, just to legitimately put in maybe a minute and a half into the Wicked Lady video. And that's what, I mean, we filmed 2 days. So to think about what we really did, there was a lot of prep for just what inevitably ended up as a minute and 30 seconds.
Oh yeah, we spent almost 3 days filming a 1 minute commercial before, and it just depends on what the production is.
Yeah, just how it turns out when you get your shot. Did they say it right?
So can you dive into like the details of this film that you're working on?
A bit. It's called Seer of Souls. And
Seer of Souls.
How it came about was I walked out of the house one morning to go to work, and there's an owl that lives in the neighborhood, but you hardly ever see him.
Yeah.
And he's sitting on the power line right over top of the driveway, just staring at me.
Is he one of them big ones that is like
his-
the size of a toddler?
He's big enough.
Yeah.
And, you know, owls are cool as hell, but at 4:30 in the morning, just staring at you, they're also creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
And-
start
They
to
can
think of Mothman.
They're aggressive too. If you ever like actually try to, you know, approach one, I've heard that they.
I've heard they can wreck an eagle pretty quick.
Yeah.
So dangerous animals.
So from there, like I said, I'm kind of a research guy. So the thought just kind of stuck in my head, and I started looking at the ancient mythology behind owls and beliefs in owls. And it was a lot of the normal stuff where it's like wisdom and messengers and stuff like that. But there were some Celtic and Middle Eastern religions that were like super dark and like really, really dark.
Thought of them as maybe demonic.
Yeah. And well, almost like a Charon character where the escorts the soul to the afterlife.
Oh,
And-
okay. So it's more of like a Hades sort of thing.
Yeah.
like-
And that was the intent of it. There was a Middle Eastern religion that called them the Seer of Souls. And the theory behind it was they could see your intentions and they judged you by it. And then that was how they
that just
judged
made me
you after
scared
death.
of owls.
They knew it beforehand.
Okay.
Now I'm scared of owls.
So I kind of rolled with that and created my own Appalachian legend where these owls grant you wishes, but there's a price to pay in proportion to the wish.
Oh, it's like selling your soul to the owl.
So if you're kind and benevolent about what you're asking for, good things happen. But most people are greedy.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask for $1 million.
Yeah.
So that's where death comes in.
Which I don't know. Is $1 million greedy anymore? I mean,
$1
seriously.
million.
There are individuals in this world that have like $600 billion, and like I'm over here just like I got two.
Bezos. Jeffrey Bezos.
We're talking about you, sir. Give us some of that money. So okay, so that's the whole premise, but that's all we can get, really. That's
Wait, are you actually having actual owls in the movie? Or is that is that a secret?
we'll see.
There will be some kind of owls.
Ooh, okay.
Okay.
Where do you find owls? Like, you just go searching through the woods, be like, just try to find some?
Well,
It's probably not very smart.
For research purposes, and I kind of reached out to him a couple of times. There's a raptor center in Huntersville, outside of Charlotte,
Okay, that's not far at all.
that has a bunch of owls
Oh, okay.
and eagles and all raptor birds.
That's the whole other thing with doing a movie is you don't think about all those small things you're going to have to end up
exactly
trying to figure out, like,
Yep.
especially because obviously this movie's got to be, if it's written about owls, you got to figure something out.
And that's how it kind of is with a lot of my
around
stories.
here, but
Like, this wasn't what I was going to start off with. But when I write, I don't think about production whenever I write. I'm a writer. So I'll write it down and I'll read it. And when I'm reading it, I'm like, well, how the crap am I going to do that?
Yeah.
yeah, that's a
'Cause
whole nother ball
I would
game.
assume that so
That's
as far
someone
as,
else's job. It's called delegation.
well
It's
as
called
far as
delegation.
I mean, because I was actually, it was funny before we came here, I was watching a video on YouTube about you know, how they did certain movie effects back in the day as compared to now, and how some of them are still used today in certain aspects. So I would assume that, I mean, are y'all limited in what you can do as far as visual effects and stuff like that?
You are limited-
CGI stuff, kind of.
Well, for practical effects, you are limited with budget and imagination. And that's about it.
But see, I've always loved practical effects way more than CGI.
And then what you can't figure out practically, then you turn to CGI. And now, just like everything else with the technology, there's a lot more people that do it, and there's a lot more people that you can almost bid it.
Yeah.
On like Fiverr and stuff like that.
Wow, Fiverr's awesome.
Yeah.
But so you actually try it practically first. That's the first approach.
I would prefer everything practical, but just some things you just can't.
I mean, speaking of The Exorcist earlier, like, and I've probably said this on the podcast before, but
probably said it on the last one.
Yeah, her makeup, like literally, the makeup artist made her look like that little girl, like the scariest freaking little girl you've ever seen in your life. I mean, she was. You remember?
That is still one of the scariest movies.
You remember playing that scary maze game as a kid on the computer? It's probably still online. You just type in scary maze game.
SCP.
I don't know.
37 where the little faces pop up and stuff.
Yeah, well, like
you
think you're about to get to the end of the maze, and then right as you get to the end, her face pops up and screams
I know
really
what
loud.
You're talking about now.
Yeah, so I mean. And it's just that's all practical effects. That's practical makeup and everything. And I just think for me, that's always looked so more visually stunning than, some like Steven Spielberg did it really good in the first Jurassic Park. Like, he mixed the CGI dinosaurs looked really good in that one, but he also didn't do it too much. He also,
like people legitimately thought that like he had killed I don't know if you remember reading that story. Like, it's like he killed the last. It
was a Triceratops.
Yeah, that's what it was. He killed the last Triceratops, and everybody's just like, "Are you stupid?" Like, and then we come to find out that they don't even really look like that.
Yeah,
but still, they still did good with that movie.
But for the most part, a lot of filmmakers today, I think, like just overly rely on the CGI, and it ruins a lot of movies for me, honestly.
Yeah.
But
I mean, unless you've got a super big budget, it's not going to look right.
Yeah. Well, even in big budgeted movies, I still just would prefer practical a lot of the times,
Yeah. And I can say there's benefits to both, because what we kind of talked about this on the last episode, and now Nick's finished it, so we can talk about it more. I don't know if you've ever seen. Have you seen The Mist? I guess it was
2007.
7?
Yeah.
I was about to say 5. And he was mentioning that people were saying it was better to watch it in black and white because of the CGI. Okay. Now, I love the movie. The movie, like the story, I was just like, it's just incredible. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody. Go watch it. The ending, it tears you apart. But the whole, the monsters and things, the tentacles, all that stuff, yeah, it's really corny. It's really bad. I know it is. I don't care. I love that movie. Like, it's just one of my favorites. Or like I had Steph watching Spartacus with me. I don't know if anybody's seen Spartacus. The whole Stars.
I've seen
series.
some of it.
Okay, well, it's got really corny blood, but the story's great. I love it. So it's one of those things where it's like, I just put up with it. I know it's a product of the times. I'm aware if it was made before 2011, it's going to look bad for CGI. But,
well, that's kind of like, we're talking about the 80s horror movies.
Yeah.
They're some of the best horror movies, but the visual effects are horrible.
Yeah.
But you go with it. You're like, this is a great movie.
I'm in it now. Like, and I think probably and we've talked about this multiple times on the podcast too, but just the best one I do think was the whole Johnny Depp scene, and
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nightmare on Elm Street, where he's the bed spinning and the blood and the bed wasn't spinning.
I would say that was more of a practical effect, because
that was a practical effect. But that's what I'm saying. Like, even as a practical effect, it was just, that is incredible.
Yeah.
And then Steph was telling me, which I think y'all had confirmed this, but Steph was telling me they did it upside down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's how they did it. Yeah. And I was just like, that's the smartest, like, that's so intelligent. Like, you just, I just don't, until people mention it, I don't think about what goes into it. Mm-hmm. And then it just blows my damn mind when I figure it out. Have you had a moment in a movie like that? That's where it's just been like, we did something, it turned out so good, and it was so simple. Like, or is nothing simple when you're doing this? They may have not thought that hanging a bed upside down was simple, but it just seemed simple.
I'm trying, like, there's a lot of stuff that,
or maybe your favorite effect that you've used.
we do
like
for
that.
for like makeup and stuff. We've had stuff flying off the walls and stuff like that. That was
Use like fish line or something like that, or
sometimes, it depends on each
doesn't wanna
little
give away
thing.
the
But you
secrets.
can also like balance it just right so that when you close the door, it'll just
it'll
fall off.
Oh, okay.
There's lots of little tricks. We've had candles come on where you can't. They just poof on.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And
Is that like a reverse thing? Like, do you
It
have
can
it?
be, yeah.
You have it lit at first and then blow it out and then just reverse the footage. Okay,
you just have to watch the smoke.
Yeah.
Ah.
I was.
smoke will-
It was funny.
the
The other
smoke will give it
day, I
away.
was watching like the visual effect mistakes that you can find in like Lord of the Rings, and there's a scene, and I think it's the Return of the King where
and that one was gorgeous.
yeah.
But I guess that you could definitely.
Well, they had a scene where there was like obviously the camera's on like a helicopter or something, but they're panning towards. I don't remember the name of the place, but it's where Aragorn goes to light those beams or whatever.
Oh yeah.
So it's zooming in on the place. However, they actually did that in reverse. Like I think they filmed it backing away. I think so I can't remember the reasoning that they did that, but they had to like digitally put smoke in coming out of the chimneys in that scene or something like that, and it looks like real cheesy. You have to really be paying attention to it though.
I think that's probably the thing with the Lord of the Rings of why I thought it was so pretty. There's just so much. Like there's so much visually going on there that I'm never gonna notice.
They filmed those in like Ireland and stuff.
Yeah,
like, I guess where
so anything added
have big
like,
mountain ranges.
I'm just never
and stuff.
gonna. Or it's kind of like we've been watching a lot of. What are those movies called? Like Ponyo and Kiki's Delivery Service and all that stuff. It's Disney anime. That's basically what it is. But those like you can sometimes notice when something was poorly drawn in it on purpose because they've got so much going on, but that you don't generally notice it because the images in the movie are so beautiful and so well animated. It's kind of I guess it's kind of like that. If you've got a lot of content on the screen, it's going to be really hard to start to pick and choose that. Do you do that to your own films where you're just like, nah, that's just not working, or
yeah, that'll happen.
or you do a review and you're just like, nah, we gotta change that.
Oh yeah, that happens all the time.
Okay.
And also like for independent, you're constantly adjusting.
Okay.
Because you don't have the budget to demand what you've written or visualize in your head. So you might write it thinking that it's going to be this kind of house. And whenever you find someone that's willing to give you their house, it's completely different.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of adjust and make and you adjust a lot based on location, whatever you can find, and then okay, we'll change this and make this work. Sometimes you're adjusting for the people that you get to play the actors. Like, okay, they don't
like
work
the type
for
of
this
person.
age range, so we'll kind of shift them into a different type of character. But yes, it's always an adjustment, and then sometimes you have effects in your mind and they just don't come out, so you roll with it or reshoot something to make it work.
That's another thing I want to ask you. You talked about actors. How do you go about finding the actors for the films? Do you reach out to certain agencies, or you just sometimes have a friend that has done some theater before or something like that? Okay,
we use all of those methods. For this film, for Seer of Souls, I've got some people that are coming from the theater. I've got some people that I just knew through these groups and doing other projects. And there's Facebook groups of casting calls. And then there's also a couple of local agencies.
Okay.
Yeah, and a lot of these actors, too, I would suspect, if, depending on the budget, obviously you're going to pay them as much as you can. That's right. the objective. But, like, do you ever get a case where it's just like, nah, I just want screen time. I don't care, whatever. Or they typically need some sort of compensation.
No, there's a lot of unpaid as well.
Yeah.
And then
I felt like that would be
again,
a thing
it
where it's
depends
like,
on
I
the
want to be in a
project.
movie. Like,
It depends on the project. Extras, background people typically aren't paid.
I was an extra and all I got was this stinking t-shirt.
But then as
I
you
got a
move
Subway
up,
sandwich.
as you move up in levels, then you can join SAG, and then they have a minimum rate that they can get paid.
Okay. What's
That's
SAG?
That's Actors Union, Screen Actors Guild.
Oh, okay.
So a SAG
so
movie
at some point,
has to pay everyone a certain rate based on what they're doing.
okay.
Straight up independent is whatever budget you have. You'd like to pay everybody. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't.
Is there a benefit with doing the SAG movie just because you've got that backing of the union, or like does that?
There's
help
pros and cons to it.
Yeah, I've never heard of that term, SAG.
Yeah, but like I know people that will just go be extras in big budget movies.
Oh, yeah.
They'll pay attention to the casting calls, go down to Wilmington or go to Atlanta, be in Halloween Ends, Halloween Kills.
That's so cool.
Bridge-
To be an extra in one of those movies.
Oh, that's
would
like
be
Dad's
badass.
dream right there, to go be killed by Michael Myers.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know people that's what they do for a living is chase around extra work for big budget films.
Yeah, I remember when The Walking Dead was doing that, where it's like, want to be a zombie?
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it was.
That'd been cool.
Get all these free zombie. Well, I'm sure they probably.
If you
had
if
budget
you were
to pay
if you were a
somebody,
zombie in The Walking Dead, which character would you have wanted to get killed by?
which character?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a hard. I would probably have to say like Rick or Carl.
Yeah.
I would definitely want it to be that revolver.
Yeah, but dude, imagine if it was like
I want the revolver, like the one that's
just
like
the
not
revolver
aimed
to the head.
It's like cocked down at the ground and about to break his wrist.
I think I would actually maybe do like Daryl or Michonne, because
Yeah.
you know Michonne's
you
got
wouldn't get
the
shot, you get stabbed. or
yeah, she's got the big katana, like that was
your head sliced off.
that yeah
That's what happened to Herschel. So,
yeah.
do you like Walking Dead, or
I-
you like any sort of horror?
Are you like
horror
most
shows,
people where
or-
you kind of gave up on it? After,
I gave up on it
after
after
a little while.
That's a lot of us gave up right after Carl died.
Yeah.
It was just like, yeah, we're not going to do this now.
It was-
I did it, but it took me a couple years like, to go back to it.
Yeah.
But so when did you drop off? Just out of curiosity. I
Um,
may have just ruined something for you.
I know Carl gets killed, but I think I gave up before that. The Asian guy, I can't remember.
Oh,
his name.
Glenn.
when Negan killed Glenn.
Well,
yeah.
whenever there was
Spoiler alert, by the
an
way.
episode where he like hid underneath a dumpster.
Oh yeah, that
like
was his
4
that
inches
one.
off the
that
ground.
was his fake death. Yeah.
and
And then they killed him short. I think
and
he
then
was
it
trying
was
to get off the
surrounded
show.
by zombies, and he crawls out from this 4-inch dumpster
yeah.
and
lives.
runs away and lives. And I was just like, what?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
were. What I think I know what was happening there, because that was around the time when like every episode was written by somebody else, and
The show didn't have a lot of continuity.
yeah, I think Glenn was trying to get off the show, the actor.
Right.
I think so. They were just going to go ahead and kill him, and then the fan base went fucking nuts, and so they were just like, well, Glenn, we'll give you this much money, or trying to keep him. And then they did for a little bit, and he was like, but when Negan comes,
Your ass is
I'm dead.
Your ass is getting comic booked.
I'm dead. I'm dead.
And had one of the most epic deaths in the thing.
Literally, probably the most notorious death in the entire, like, I mean, because it without, I mean, not,
It was brutal.
not to say that, who was it? What's the guy's name? A redheaded guy.
Abraham.
Abraham.
And that's what that
Not to say
episode
that his death wasn't any
that
worse. I'm
episode
just
made you
saying
think that
you remember Glenn's.
Well, that episode
like,
at first made you think it was him, and then there was nobody else.
Yeah.
But then Daryl gets mad and punches Negan, so Negan's like, all right, well, guess I'm gonna kill somebody else too. So then it happened to be Glenn. That episode actually did have me like on the edge, like the whole entire episode. I was like, oh my,
when I finally showed Steph that episode, she literally was so like, not just like crying, she was so mad.
yeah.
Just so mad at Negan, like that she was like, I will never watch a show. Like, it was hard to get her to watch it again. it was like she was legitimately upset at Jeffrey D. Morgan, like about to rip his head off. And I was like, but he was so good in other things. She go, I don't care. Like, she was just
I thought he was.
mad.
A lot of people, yeah, that's when a lot of people dropped off. But I thought his character as Negan was. I mean, even throughout that whole rest of that season, I mean, I enjoyed his character. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, like not finishing the season would have been terrible for me because like. I think that was the best bit of Walking Dead.
Yeah.
And that's where it peaked. And then after that, you're getting into some wild and crazy shit. So it's like,
there's like
it's not even worth it.
I haven't watched it in like years now, but like apparently I still see like the trailers and stuff. They got like some stormtrooper looking bitches in there now.
They're starting to back up again.
Well, this is the last
Oh,
season. Like they've
COVID hurt it.
Yeah.
That's another thing. So when I don't know if you were making film during COVID, but
there wasn't much being made. It was very difficult. And then coming back was a lot of different regulations and rules.
Yeah.
But then again, it depended on who you were shooting with.
Yeah.
So like most of what we were doing at the time was with our little circle anyway.
Yeah. So you're kind of already
so we were already
around
each other and knew each other, and some of us saw each other every day. So we kind of got around some stuff with that, but there wasn't much being made for that year and a half.
Or maybe a lot of writing.
And then, and we saw it more in the film festival submissions, like it was, worldwide. So then you would get people that would come up with ways to just do something with them or them and one other person.
Okay. So it's smaller
cast, smaller productions.
And with the film festival stuff, is that, I guess, being indie, do you see any, I guess, versus like the other style, like with the actual guild or the whatever it's called?
Well, you can get SAG movies into the film festivals. That's just more
that with indie, like
how it's run on the set.
Yeah, nobody really ever sees the difference, I guess. Is that an accurate assessment, or?
Yes, I mean you can get good and bad
in both. It's just
it's not going to affect the quality of it. It's more how you run things and the hoops that you have to jump through and the red tape. And
it's interesting to think about that. I've never thought of that either. I guess some employees of these movies would want some sort of protection like that.
At the end, every main movie, when it gets down to the very, very, very end of the credits, it'll have a bunch of different acronyms for DTS, the sound, and the cameras, and one of them will be SAG.
See, I never thought that was a thing, or I never just thought about it as like there would be an authority figure over stuff like that. But I guess, if
you got to think, there's probably some people that go to
protection.
That go to film festivals and like kind of are there to be like maybe steal some ideas or something like that, and stuff like that.
Well, when you get into the big productions, like you're hired to do this job, and you're paid this much from the union, but like you can't do anything else.
Yeah, there's
like
your
where
hands
I'm the kind of guy where I'm like, okay, what needs to be done?
You want your hands in it.
They can't.
Yeah.
If you're hired to do sound, you do sound. If they tell you to pick up that lighting cable, you can't.
Yeah, because the contract. I've heard of those stories, but not necessarily with film. Just in general, it's like if you're contracted and you're doing something you're not supposed to be doing, like the management of it will like come down. I even remember when I worked at my last desk job, like if I was working on my break or doing something for work on my break, they would get legitimately upset at me. And it was just because they didn't want me, and not that I would be that person, but they don't know, that, if I did something technically off the clock or during my break or whatever, like they thought they were going to get in trouble and some sort of, they were fearful of that. but in a way that kind of came across as angry. I don't think they were legitimately angry. It was just, I was ignorant and I didn't know. Like, I was just trying to
needed to be done,
be efficient, you know. I could definitely see wanting that freedom of not, because I'm kind of the same way. I like my hands.
So,
different
like
stuff,
there are advantages and disadvantages to going SAG. And we've kicked it around a couple of times, but we haven't so far.
Yeah.
But some of the people that we work with are. So some of the actors that you bring in will be SAG. But unless you're doing a SAG film, then they're kind of working independently.
At that point, they're working independently. So I guess it seems like SAG gets probably more beneficial to the actor, really, to just like find them the job or help them.
Yes, and the fact that it kind of sets rules for pay for the actors. Whereas without it, it's whatever the discretion of the filmmaker is and whatever budget they have.
Exactly. So kind of staying along those lines, have you ever been an actor? Like an actual active actor in the movie?
I prefer not to. I'm not comfortable in front of the camera. I've been thrown in front of the camera. Hey, we need a person over here. Nobody else is here. Okay, fine, I'll do it.
Here I am.
But it's not what I want to do. No.
Okay.
As far as your we were talking about you're on IMDb.
Yes.
As far as those accolades, what are they like? As far as you being
bring it up.
Yeah, bring it up. Do you remember?
I remember seeing it and I was kind of like, hell yeah, like okay.
Yeah, it's pretty much for kind of everything that I've done. So it'll have different listings. Started off with a movie called Midnight Shift, and I was a producer on that.
Okay.
Been a producer a lot, and then some things were just location.
Here he is. Seer of Souls. There it is.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. So it's like you primarily do a lot of producing.
It's the easiest thing to get into. And there's different levels of producer. Producer is, for me, one of the most confusing titles in a film.
Mm. Well, I wanted to ask you, like, what is the main difference between a producer and a director?
The director is the person in charge. They're the one with the vision. The producer are people that is making that vision happen.
Okay.
And they can be doing that physically, where, okay, we need this, we'll go do this. Or they can be doing that just by writing you a check.
That's what my uncle has always said. A producer is the one who paid for it. That's what he always. A lot of times, I don't know if that's true, but that makes sense if you're helping produce it.
In some cases, that's very much true.
Yeah. Or I've seen it as executive producer.
Executive producer is a whole different level.
Oh gosh.
Because like when if you watch a big budget film and you'll see executive producer and it'll be some big famous name and they're not in it. So what did they do?
Yeah.
They gave them their name. They sold them their name so they could use that to get budgeting.
Oh my gosh.
So they have absolutely nothing to do with it in a lot of cases.
So an executive producer is literally someone that sort of like was paid to back a movie idea or something like that.
So especially for independent, you do the crowdfunding. Well, if you want to go a level above that, you have to get a name that somebody knows. It can be a D-list actor as long as it's a name somebody recognizes.
Yeah.
And then you can say, hey, so-and-so is involved with this project, and take it to the next level above
so they are
crowdfunding and do
producer.
Actual investing, and people will say, okay, this person's involved with it. Maybe it's not that crappy, and you can get budget that way.
That is awesome. I'm learning so much from you.
Yeah.
I'm learning so much.
Definitely. The movies that you have been involved in, as far as being a producer, or
there's a
something
lot-
like that.
so-
Where can we view these films? Are they only available at film festivals, or are they
A
online?
lot of them are.
Okay.
And it's the same way. It's the discretion of the director. Ultimately, the director owns the film. It's his movie. Some people release them on YouTube. Some people just do DVDs and such. And we've had DVDs of ours. Some are just on film festivals. Occasionally, they'll make it on to Netflix and Amazon. We've had a
cool.
couple on there.
Nice.
That's really cool.
Are there any that you know for sure that you were involved in that are like available on YouTube?
Or Netflix, or streaming services?
I don't think any of ours is on YouTube. A couple of them are on Vimeo, on the pay side of Vimeo.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if any are still on Netflix, but Spirit of the Cinema was on Netflix, and one other one that the name escapes me now.
Spirit of the Cinema. There it was, 2021. Looks like your first one, or first, I guess, job was in 2017.
Yeah, Midnight Shift.
So that was like your first getting into it.
Yes.
When you were doing that, was that a scary sort of thing, or were you kind of excited to hit it? Or
I was kind of excited for it, and
now you got 5 years under your belt.
Yeah,
doing this stuff. So.
Well, that I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
So I said, hey, those were the guys that I approached at the film festival, and I was like, hey, I'd love to be involved. And it's like, well, you could be a producer. And
just like that.
Just like
okay.
It wasn't even like a
that's like,
you.
hey,
They
you
know
can be
you.
a producer, write us a check. But
okay.
so then I was like, but I want to be involved.
Yeah, like
I
I'll give
I
you
don't
my
care.
time.
I don't care what I do. I just want to be there, be involved, and so
that's kind of how it happened.
that's kind of how it happened. Whatever needed to be done, I would do,
So
but I
you've
was
had
going to be involved.
Obviously, a lot more producer roles, but I mean, yeah, he's worked in sound, location, camera, electronics, and you've worked on quite a few different movies too.
Yes.
That's what's even more insane. Like, you've done these things on different movies. Well, except that there's one. No. Seer of Souls is your new one coming out here soon.
That I've kind of done everything on.
But okay, production manager and actor in Sea Salt Wind.
That was an extra part. Yeah.
Okay.
We needed
still multiple.
We needed diners and in a restaurant scene.
Oh, I've had that happen.
Yeah.
Remember in the which
freak
video?
out
Video. Freak out video. I don't think there was some of us that weren't really supposed to be in it, but like we needed the restaurant to sort of look like it had patrons.
Yeah.
Like, so we just ended up.
And that's
there.
most of the in front of the camera stuff is, hey, we need a extra person here, so
You sit back here and look like you're talking.
I'll go over there and hold a gun, or
Okay.
go over here and drink a cup of coffee, and it's just different whatever needs to be done.
So when will Seer of Souls? When is that going to be first be shown? Like when and where?
I expect.
I guess you're still filming it, so maybe
Yeah,
don't
we're
for
just
sure.
getting into filming it, so I expect next summer we should be wrapping it up.
Okay.
I tend to work slowly. There's some people that will do a movie in a week.
Yeah.
And I'm
See,
very
that's a
detail
lot.
oriented and take my time with things. So it's taking a little bit of time. It's a process for me, and it being my first one as well. So I expect we'll be done with it by next summer, and we'll probably have a premiere at Marketplace Cinema in Winston, because
Marketplace. Okay,
we
love
know
that.
those guys. That's where we had
love
the film
Marketplace.
festival.
Okay, that's where it is. Okay,
Go see all them.
I need to check that out.
All them matinees.
So, and I know a lot of these say short on it. Is this new movie going to be a short? Or
It is not. It's a feature.
Okay. It's an actual feature. Awesome.
Which is another thing I do differently than most people. Is if someone says, hey, you have to do it like this, I purposely won't.
Okay.
So nobody starts off with their first film as a feature. They all do shorts just to get kind of their feet wet and get into it. And
so that's what inspired the full length.
well, I was completely set up to start on a short film, and then COVID hit and ruined it.
Yeah.
So kind of during COVID, I had the idea for Seer of Souls. And when I got done writing it, I was like, this seems easier to produce than some of my short films. So
this is the one.
So this is the one we'll go with. And I don't know if it has been, because it's been complicated at times. But
It's already starting to rear its head a little bit. I'm
when
excited to see
when
it,
it gets
man.
finished. I want to go see it at the Marketplace Cinema.
So that one you are premiering at Market potentially.
that's the plan right now. It's several months down the road, but I don't see a reason why that wouldn't be the plan.
Random
So
question.
if you're in the Winston area around that time,
Go to the
we will be
Marketplace
there.
Cinema. So how long does a film have to be before it's considered a feature, like full length, and not a short anymore?
Technically, from looking at different film festival criteria, it's at about 60 minutes.
Okay.
Personally,
That's kind of what I was thinking.
I wouldn't consider that a feature,
Yeah.
but
I probably wouldn't
there's
either.
a gray area of between like 45 minutes to an hour 15 that you're like, is it a short? Is it a feature? Yeah, I'm not really
Yeah.
sure.
Well, I know a lot of the movies that came out in like, the 30s and stuff were maybe a little over an hour, but
Yeah.
not much. I don't think 3-hour movies were heard of back in those days.
No, definitely not. I don't even know if they had enough tape.
Film.
Yeah, like to actually get you that far.
Yeah.
You have a bunch. Well, I mean, you think about like 30 minutes of film to them. They're like changing it every
they're going
30
through
minutes,
rolls of
and
stuff.
it's just rooms filled with all this film that someone's got to look through.
Yeah.
So obviously, things can get long-winded, but since we figured out you're a Panthers fan, the things have been weird when it comes to the Carolina Panthers. We try to talk sports in a broad way, but since we got 3 Panthers fans here, I think this should be Panther time.
BT.
Yay or nay on Baker Mayfield? Yay or nay?
At this point, I gotta go with nay, man. I mean, he looks awful. And ESPN, I saw, just posted something that said that he has like the lowest passer rating of a starting quarterback since like 2007.
It is 15.7.
Yeah, it's
Terrible.
It's
He
horrendous.
had like what, a 35 last week, and now it's a 15.7.
It's the craziest thing too, because
I don't think Sam Darnold's has ever gotten that.
No, like and Baker has always been the type of guy that has been like doubted pretty much his whole career, and every time he stepped into got an opportunity, he made the most of it and proved everybody wrong. Well, now he gets to Carolina and he's proven he is
done
making
it for one quarter.
he is making the Cleveland Browns look smart for getting a sexual predator on their team. Like Baker Mayfield is literally making the Browns look like geniuses. And
Well, the Browns are doing pretty good right now. Jacoby Brissett's playing better ball than he ever has.
I
don't know why we thought he couldn't play ball, but
it just makes no sense to me how he has been so bad. Like it's like ever since prime Cam Newton, it's like quarterbacks just come to the Panthers to die. Like Kyle Allen phased out really fast. Like Will Grier didn't even stand a chance.
Nope.
And then Teddy Bridgewater was honestly in the Matt Rule era. I guess you could say he's probably been the best quarterback we've had.
I fell off the Teddy Bridgewater train at the end of the season. So, like, when he came back from injury, and you could tell, like, there was fear on that man's face. Like, just to play ball, because, he about lost his leg again. That man needs no leg injuries. I guess now he's going to be the
kind of
Dolphins
like
head.
Cam Newton after he had, that one big injury, he was never the same.
Never the same. Well, Teddy can still throw a ball. where like Cam can't throw a ball. Cam can still run though.
Yep.
And that would be, I mean, we'd almost be better off having Cam and just using him how the Saints use Taysom Hill, where it's just like, oh, you never throw it.
Yeah, well, and like
just run.
I'm still not really on board with the Matt Rule train, like either. But I'm sitting there watching that game yesterday, and I'm just like, I don't know how you can fully blame Matt for this. You know, like
I
they
think
just completely fell apart.
Yeah, I kind of look at it. I said this to you the other day. I kind of look at it like, Matt Rule is a very defensive-minded man, and obviously this defense is legit. They've proven that they can win a ball game themselves. That doesn't mean they can do it every week.
Right.
I'm just saying that they proved that they could. So then who does it fall on? I mean, obviously Matt Rule's offensive knowledge must not be very good if we're not this good. On paper, we're so good, and then,
you could maybe blame him
in
the sense that
I don't like Ben McAdoo.
You're not,
saying.
Back in Cleveland, Baker's strength was rolling out, and throwing on the run, but he's been staying in the pocket a lot more, and he's just so short, he can't throw the ball over the defenders' heads. They just know to stick their hands up now and just bat the ball down because Baker's not going to be rolling out as much.
Yeah.
So
and you saw yesterday if Kyler was going to throw the ball, he had to do that.
Yeah.
Like even it didn't.
Because we batted a couple of his passes.
We did the same thing to Kyler. So it's like they know you're a short quarterback. So I don't know if it's necessarily that Baker can't be out of the pocket, but there are very interesting. We're running so many RPOs. I don't know if you're noticing that. That's like so many plays where it's just like Baker figure it out, Baker figure it out, Baker figure it out. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that Baker shouldn't be able to figure it out. I think if anything, his knowledge is probably better than his athleticism. The man's smart. It's just I don't know if maybe this team is not one to RPO it every freaking down, where it's
we have
make
three.
A choice.
Well, it's
someone make a call, like a coach make a call.
And it's like when I'm playing pool, I can see the shot. That don't mean I can make the shot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's now there was one throw to DJ yesterday, which DJ and Robbie looked good yesterday. Off the line, they looked great. There were a couple throws. I think there was a throw like that I saw like Tommy Tremble completely open. And not saying that he would have caught the ball. I'm just saying that like it's like we just threw it away, but like Tommy Tremble's right there.
Yeah.
Like it was just a bad read. But there was one ball that went to DJ that I saw that like very much could have been caught, But I saw that stuff with Sam Darnold too, where it's like a ball lands right in Robbie Anderson's hands and he doesn't catch it. Like it. Yeah. I think that was the downfall of Sam. It's not. I was watching Sam going like, "You're doing good. You're doing good. You're doing good. Your receivers just need to catch a damn ball." That was what I saw in Sam, and then it got him so discouraged where it just didn't matter.
I think at this point, like you make the most of what you can out of this season. They could turn it around. I doubt it, but like after this season, like you got to stop playing around and trying to salvage mediocre quarterbacks, Chris, and just draft somebody. Yeah. Just do what you probably should have done after you let Cam go.
Do you like Matt Corral, by chance? You see anything in that guy?
He's a short quarterback too.
Yeah, I haven't formed an opinion on him yet.
Well, you can't really. There's not a sample size.
Yeah.
Well, he played in the preseason terribly.
And I didn't see much of the preseason, so I'm not sure.
And from what I know of Matt Corral, because I've watched some of his college highlights, and the man is an athlete. Reminds me a lot of Sam Darnold, where it's he comes from an offense that doesn't have to think very much.
Well, that
Ole
might
Miss
not be
was so
a bad
simple.
thing.
Exactly.
Because Sam Darnold was a good quarterback. But once everybody started dropping passes, he just kind of gave up.
I don't blame him. I don't blame him at all for it. But
Well,
I'm just saying, like, he legitimately, like, you could see it. It just,
Well, I'm not gonna.
he was
I'm not,
gone.
Not
He left the
fully
building.
defending Darnold either, but like our offensive line this year has been a little bit better than last year's. Last year's was god awful, and so I mean, Sam just didn't make the greatest decisions. Under pressure.
Well, and he had to be.
Baker's
under
not
pressure
making great
every
decisions.
down.
Baker's not making he just like I said he's in a situation where he can't get it over the defenders' heads. They got an interception off a tip pass yesterday, but then the other interception he threw, he was in the pocket and he was well protected for the most part. He just didn't lob it to where DJ could catch it. And it was in double coverage too, so it was like behind him. And so I told Dad yesterday,
there was a lot of throws like
this
that
whole
yesterday.
see, I thought that Baker was going to bring like this moxie and stuff to the team that Sam didn't. But in all the games that Baker's played, he just has not looked like he's mentally in it. I
don't think he knows. I don't think he knows what's going on. I still feel like Baker is uninformed. Like he just doesn't know this playbook. That's what it seems like. Or it seems like they're practicing one thing and then being told to do something different.
Could be.
Where they're, Baker's a little confused.
Yeah.
And I think he is more intelligent than Sam in figuring out a playbook.
That makes sense because you see him sometimes after he makes these weird passes and he just has that. That's what I said. Like he just has that confused look on his face. Like,
when that's what started happening to Sam, that's what started happening to Teddy Bridgewater.
But why is it like that?
And I think it's coaching. I think and you got to think too. We've changed the coaching so much while Matt Rule's been there. We just keep changing it. There's no consistency for any of these players, except for Matt Rule. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I don't know the ins and outs of it. I'm just saying that if players are confused, that's why. Like, the O-line obviously figured out how to play ball. The O-line, I think, are fixing themselves each week. They seem to be better. Well, especially with giving Baker more time in the pocket. And if anything, Baker should be a better pocket passer, and Drew Brees it out. That's kind of,
you would think.
You would think, but
you take that extra step back to give you room over the defenders.
Take your extra step back, throw it high.
Well, that's another thing.
You watch Patrick Mahomes just like sissy boy.
He's not the first.
Dunking.
He's not the first short quarterback. There's ways around it.
Yeah, but Baker's showing the same traits that Sam was showing last year. He's got happy feet. You never notice he's not planting his feet when he throws.
Never.
Like
that's
just basic fundamentals.
But that's also trust to that O-line. He's afraid that O-line's gonna give, and it's like, nah, Baker. At some point, you're gonna have to take a couple hits, but at some point, you're gonna have to trust that O-line. And the only place that I've seen that's weak on this O-line is Icky, and that's not a bad thing because he's a rookie.
Yeah,
And when I say weak point, that's not a. He's still better than half the linemen in the game.
Yeah.
He's just letting a few through, and that's what's scaring Baker, I think that's what's scaring Baker.
It's just honestly, it's been a mess ever since. I mean, this pretty much all falls back on the owner. I mean, it's been a mess ever since Tepper took over. Like, the year before Tepper took over, that was the last time we were in the playoffs. Yeah. It was in 2017.
I hadn't thought about it, but that's a good point.
Yeah, since Tepper. Do you have any perspective on how to fix this team that you think? Like, what would make a difference?
I don't know. Because everything they get people to do specific tasks, and then they don't do those tasks.
Yeah.
It doesn't work out. Like
we
Baker.
stopped doing our job.
He was supposed to be, a good quality quarterback.
Yeah.
And he's not.
Well, I think he is. Because I do feel like and that this can all be kind of perspective, but
and it all has to come together. It's all
the
line giving him time to do it, and the reads and knowing the playbook. It's all got to come together.
Yeah,
coaching to give him the fundamentals, but it's for whatever reason, nothing ever seems to come together for them. Like the opposite of New England, who can just put someone in any position and they succeed.
String quarterback about beats Aaron Rodgers.
Doesn't matter. Well, but have you noticed this too? Like Baker seems to be more confident throwing, especially to Shi Smith. That is typically the receiver that does get yardage if one gets one. That's the guy he ends up going to most of the time. Do you feel like that's a coincidence that because he was doing a lot of practicing with second string guys and third string guys?
And every quarterback, no matter what team they're on, has their go-to receivers.
Yeah.
And a lot of it has to do with reps and whether they knew each other in the past, played together in college or played together on another team, or just get more reps in practice.
Yeah.
Whatever the case may be, but everybody kind of has their go-to receiver.
I feel like DJ's a guy that can, it doesn't matter who's throwing the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Like DJ can typically figure it out. And the fact that he's not with Baker is weird because he did with Kyle, he did with Taylor, he did with PJ, he did, he's adapted.
You wonder
DJ's
if they
adapted.
Just don't get along or whatever.
I'm curious.
Yeah.
I'm curious if there's something
anything,
wrong there and it's not because Baker's feeding him the ball. It's just either Baker's throwing it over his head. That happened too many times to count. Now, I did see, like in the very first Baker game, there was a moment of calibration where you could tell that Baker was figuring out, like, because he just kept overthrowing and underthrowing that, like, those first couple quarters. And then there was a moment when it made sense. And, like, all of a sudden, like, even the shorts and the longs, they were fine. Like, he was getting it to his receiver. I don't know if it's something like that, where it's like he just can't calibrate this year, or, and I know Robbie's fast, so I can imagine Robbie outrunning your arm.
Mm-hmm.
I can definitely imagine that. But why is it always shy? Like, it always seems to be shy. Why wouldn't you want that Baker practicing or
you would
getting
seem like
used
he
to
would
those...
getting the reps with the 1 and 2 receivers.
Exactly. Why are they not more comfortable with catching a ball from Baker?
And that's
or vice versa?
That's why I just feel like it's something personal, because there's nothing in the ability that makes sense.
Exactly.
Well,
because Baker should be good, and DJ is still one of the best receivers in the league.
If you remember,
no matter what.
In the offseason, this is like maybe a month or so before we got Baker, but there was talk. There'd been talks all offseason of us getting Baker, and at one point, remember, Robbie Anderson tweeted out, "No."
I knew Robbie wasn't happy about it.
Yeah, so
But
there was already some weirdness there.
Robbie's gotten some stats off Baker already, but DJ really hasn't, which is weird. Because DJ's been able to adapt with dudes. Every quarterback that's thrown to him, he's adapted to, except for Baker for some reason.
Well,
and Matt Rule seems to be blaming it on the receivers. That's what it seems like.
Well, I'll say this, and it seems more likely than not that Rule's not going to make it throughout the rest of the season. I'm not going to say he can't turn it around. It doesn't look like he's going to. But if that happens, I mean, there's going to be a new coach. There's going to be no more Baker or Darnold. They'll be gone.
Contracts will be done.
And I'm afraid Matt Corral's probably going to be on the out too, because if you get a new coach in there, and we
will too,
and we get
PJ's only here because of Matt Rule.
Yeah, PJ will be gone too. I mean, it'll be a whole new quarterback roster probably, but a new coach isn't going to want to, like take a third round quarterback and be like, that's my guy. Like if we have a top 10 pick, he's going to take one of the quarterbacks in the top 10, so it'll be a whole new system next year, with a young rookie quarterback. And I mean, at this point, maybe that's what we need.
Maybe,
a quarterback that can actually figure it out. I don't know. But in the last 5 years, we just haven't had a quarterback to figure it out.
We got to wait for the Manning boy. That's what we need to do. We need to just bomb until we get the Manning boy. He's in college now.
I think he's like a freshman.
I can't remember his name. It's
Cooper. Is it Cooper? Or is that one of the brothers?
That's one of the brothers.
Oh, okay.
It's his son.
Yeah. Okay.
It's his son, but mentored by all of them.
Yeah.
Who are all football players.
Yeah.
We need to just bomb until we get him.
Well, I don't know anything about college football that much, but apparently next year's class is going to be decent. Like that Bryce Young kid and CJ Stroud are two big names or whatever. So I don't know anything.
There could be something. Hell, we could have had Malik Willis.
Could have had Malik Willis. Could have had Kenny Pickett. Or I told you the other day in 2020.
Kenny Pickett scored.
In 2020, we could have had Justin Herbert,
I think the Justin Herbert thing was absolute luck. I think the Chargers were probably the only people that scouted him and was just like, let all these other idiots forget about Justin Herbert and then we'll just take him, because I don't remember anybody talking about Justin Herbert before that draft, and seeing him go, I was like, who is that?
Yeah.
Like, and then all of a sudden watching him play, I'm like, oh,
yeah.
oh, okay. You are now my fantasy quarterback. Did you play fantasy football at all?
I have a lot in the past, but I haven't the past couple of years.
Making movies.
Yeah.
I can definitely understand that. We've the last 3 years, three years.
I think we started in like 2019. I think it was like the first time.
I've gotten way too into it.
We started probably mid 2000s and got really into it. We're playing every year.
Yeah.
Sometimes 2 or 3 leagues, and
that's why I'm into
different types of leagues, and
I want to do a crazy league next year. I think we should do like a crazy 2 quarterback league or something like that.
Yeah.
Just make it wild.
Yeah.
Especially if we end up putting money on it. So, okay. So we do kind of have little segments, and then we'll finish up and let you go, sir.
Cool.
But, so I've mentioned this on a couple different podcasts, but there's still no mail for Nick.
God,
there's still no mail.
I suck.
And I haven't talked about it in the last couple episodes. But if you want Mail Time with Nick to be a segment, it's backwards. GetDisarranged@gmail.com. Right here. Look at this boy. This is what a boy with no mail looks. It's just your hat, so it's just very dark.
It's the norm.
That's what he looks like when there's no mail.
This is an OG hat right here. Too,
yeah,
by
that's
the way.
the OG, the norm
the
hat.
Norm. Yeah,
we should repurpose those. We should just do another hat like that.
I'm gonna go find
original.
I'm gonna go find our original logo and just do like what the Panthers did yesterday on the football field. They had the old
the OG
logos in the end zone.
Do it like that.
That one up there, actually.
Yeah, that. I've got a lot of old Panther stuff. I found a lot of stuff in thrift
I actually
stores.
thought that was pretty cool too. Like some people are saying they should just leave the field like that.
Yeah, just go back to the whole OG thing.
Yeah.
But anyways, so that's getdisarranged@gmail.com. We'll be waiting. Also, it's time for the Disarrangements trending Twitter 3. I said it right.
You said it right.
Woohoo!
Nice.
I said it right. Okay. So this is a segment where I literally just go to our Twitter page and click trending and see what the top 3 are. Excuse me. And if in the top 3 there's something bogus or stupid, I throw it out and go to the next one. That's pretty much how I handle that. So number 1 on Twitter today, of all places,
on Twitter,
the trending on Twitter. This is the stupidest thing that people are following. I sort of get it and sort of don't. I kind of just don't care, but of course this is the segment, so I have to say it.
Does it involve Nicki Minaj?
No, this one's Kanye.
Oh, okay.
Kanye was seen wearing, which he was doing like a press conference for Yeezy or whatever, and he was wearing a shirt, and on the back of the shirt it said "White Lives Matter." So everybody's freaking the hell out because Kanye's wearing a shirt that says "White Lives Matter." Anyways, I shouldn't care. Nobody should care, really. Like, why do we really care? What did you expect? What did you expect? Kanye is Kanye. He's gonna. You tell Kanye not. It was kind of like you were saying. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if someone tells you not to do something, what are you gonna do? I'm gonna fucking do it. Or the opposite. If someone tells you this is not how you do something, Kanye's just gonna do the opposite. What, have you not figured it out? That's what he does. Okay, and people are still buying his shoes for like $500 a pair. Number 2, it's National Boyfriend Day. Steph, where's my presents?
I don't think I got a post from Brianna either on Facebook.
Yeah,
so I'm a little disappointed.
Well, and this could also be just a Twitter thing. I don't know how national holidays work with this.
It was
stuff.
on that page Uber Facts.
Uber Facts.
Yeah, that's on Facebook and stuff. So I guess it's a thing.
Okay.
But I've got curious a couple of times, and
Who decides this stuff?
There are sites that will tell you the national day.
Yeah.
But there's like 5 or 6 of them for every single day, so you just pick whichever one fits your narrative.
Yeah.
Okay.
I meant to call
It's more
Dad.
of a bullshit
I meant to
thing.
call Dad out. Dad out on this too.
It's like a zodiac. Everybody's
So
got
like
one.
last week it was like National Sons Day and National Daughters Day, like a
Right,
day apart from each other. And Dad shared a post with my sister Megan. He shared,
But did
you
he
know,
share
it was
anything for you?
National Daughters Day, you know. And then and I think Mom shared one too with her. And then like the next day it was National.
How did you
Sons-
not remember that September 24th was like?
It was National Sons Day the next day, and Mom posted one about me and Megan. But Dad never posted one for me. I guess he just.
Well, and I've been trying to have these fights with him where he's just like my son, and I'm like, you told me you didn't have a son on the podcast.
Yeah.
Like you told me he wasn't yours.
Yeah.
So, like and back and forth.
I meant to call him out. I'm like, hey, Dad, I never got Megan got a post. I didn't get one. You know, it's not that important.
And then
to
he's
me.
like, why did you call me Dad? Like
I'm not your father.
that's what he kept doing. That was the joke on the pod. He's like, I don't even know why I'm here. Like, I'm sure he loves you, Nick. It'll be okay. It'll be okay.
Sometimes I wonder.
I think sometimes we all wonder, but your parents truly do love you, even if they act like they hate you. Number 3, this is an interesting one that we were talking about movies. It's not a horror movie, but number 3 was Wakanda Forever #. So basically discussing the new Black Panther movie. It was the trailer. Like everybody was hashtagging that. So anyways, I to expect it, you know. I saw the trailer when what was the last movie I saw? Oh, it was when it was another anime movie. It was the new Dragon Ball movie. Me and Cody and Matt went to the Grand and they played the Black Panther trailer. And it looked like it was going to be good.
Sure.
I kind of hate that we lost that dude so early.
Yeah.
I can't even remember his name. I feel horrible.
Chadwick.
Chad. Yeah, there you go. I hate it because like I didn't think I was gonna like the Black Panther. I really didn't think. I thought it was just gonna be another Marvel movie, kind of like Captain Marvel. Like I didn't really care for that movie. I mean, it was a movie. You know, it was a Marvel movie.
It had actors in it.
Yeah, it was a thing. I'm not saying it was horrible. I was just saying there was better Marvel movies. But when I went and saw that movie, I was like, yep, that was a good one. That was a staple in the Marvel universe. And then of course we lost him. But I think it still will be good. I think they'll find a way to make it good. So, speaking of, we didn't even ask you this. What is your favorite scary movie?
Exorcist.
Oh, okay. I like it. That's one of my favorites too.
Scary movie. Yes, what we on the last cast.
Your mother does sexual things in hell.
I don't really have like a favorite horror movie, but the Saw franchise is my favorite. I just like all of them, and
I can kind of see the same feeling behind Saw for a different generation that Exorcist was.
Sorta, yeah, it's kind of the
older
same
generation,
thing.
Yeah.
And I already told y'all I really don't mind bad CGI. So like, if the movie's good, I like it. So the whole bit of Saw, or like I liked Final Destination a lot. It was it kind of got me to Saw. That's kind of what Final Destination did for me. It kind of gave me that like of that style of movie. But Saw, like the interjecting story, just. I love the twists and turns that it takes you through. But, of course, he got an Evil Dead one. But that was... Chandler had brought us those. But is Evil Dead your favorite? I knew it had to be
no,
up there, but do you have a favorite?
I don't know if I have a favorite. I mean, The Exorcist I've always loved because it was a movie that really impacted me as a really young teenager when I first saw it. And that movie came out in 1973. So, I mean, the impact that it still had back in 2006 or whenever it was
it's still
crazy.
legit.
And that was what grabbed me. It's the only movie that actually gave me nightmares.
Yeah.
But it was
still
also
freaks me out.
because...
Well, there's even a fun story. If you ever go and read... okay, so for those of you that don't know, Tony Iommi is the lead guitar player for Black Sabbath. In 1973...
Iron Man.
In 1973, Black Sabbath was kind of at the height of their popularity, you know. And in Tony Iommi's book, Dad read Tony Iommi's book, and apparently in the book he said that they all went and saw The Exorcist one night. And this is Black Sabbath, like they're a band that's out there scaring people on stage, with some of their riffs and stuff like that. And he said that they all had to sleep in the same room with the lights on when they saw that movie.
They saw The Exorcist.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I saw it probably way too young, where you're sneaking up after dark watching HBO when you shouldn't be. And it's like, holy crap.
Yeah.
This is on TV?
Well, but I love, Evil Dead, obviously. I love The Exorcist. I love The Shining. And I love Halloween, the original Halloween. I mean, so I guess you can call me very basic, but
there's reasons why you should like all those movies, really.
Yeah. Those are classics.
And they were.
He's a lot more into the classics than I am.
And they were very innovative too. You know, like.
I mean, I've got some Funko Pops here of the old guys, but I think if I would have gotten into all those old '80s staples when I was younger, like the closest I ever got was with Jason, just because my brother loved Jason. But I still didn't really understand what was going on, or I wasn't paying attention to plot. Like, that's what I told Chandler this too, because I was like, if I had to say a movie, it'd probably be Freddy vs. Jason, just because I thought it was hilarious. Like, I thought it was one of the funniest.
Did you see my Facebook status the other day? About Freddy vs. Jason?
Nah.
So I watched it for the first time.
You actually watched it?
Yeah, and I was disappointed. Not because it was.
I thought it was hilarious.
Not because it was I thought it was a terrible movie. I thought that they.
Oh, I thought it was stupid.
I thought
it was awesome.
I thought they tried to take it too seriously. I thought that they tried to implement this plot with these teenagers and the girl's mother that nobody gives a shit about.
Exactly.
And I just wanted to
it
see.
Makes no sense.
I just wanted to see a whole hour and a half of Jason fighting Freddy, but you only get that at the end of the movie.
Yeah, you get like a good 10 minutes.
10 minutes,
My favorite part was the bit where the girl's getting stabbed in the bed, and what comes through the bed is I'm just like, it's grape jelly. Like, it's just straight up like we watch all these really scary effects and stuff, and I was like, nah, this is terrible. Yeah. Like, this is awful. Yeah. But it was still one of those moments where I just thought, all I could think of is a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So it made me laugh. Like, that's why I thought Freddy versus, because I saw that that would have been when it came out. I would have been 10.
I think it said the other day, or when I looked it up, it was 2003.
2003?
Yeah.
And I was 10. I was born in 92. So around there.
Yeah.
Around there, roughly. I was 9 or 10. Something like that. So it would have been rentable from like a movie store. Because I went with my sister and her boyfriend at the time to the movie store. And we got some like kid scary movies. And they got Freddy vs. Jason. But I watched Freddy vs. Jason. And I was like, that was another one of those booby movies. We had that talk at the last podcast too. Yep. It's like, what was your first booby? Like, but that would have been one of those moments too. Well, we're coming up on it, so I think we'll just go ahead and hit legit or shit. Okay, so this is an interesting game. It's basically like true or false. That's kind of what it is. But
fact or fiction.
Fact or fiction. It's kind of like that. But Nick, we sort of kind of decided we wanted to do a game like this on the podcast regularly, and Nick drunk texts me legit or bullshit. So and I was like, nah, let's just. But it was funny. Like, I was like, great, like that. It rhymes, but let's just dumb it down to legit or shit. So I'm just going to give you a fact or fiction, rather, and y'all are going to let me know if it's legit or shit, and we'll try to keep up with score. And Nick, I think, has only won the last episode. I think it's the only time Nick has won. So your odds are good.
On.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of like the Panthers, like where they can only win one. I'm just kidding.
Only get a few, you know.
I'm just kidding. But these are just random. Like, they have no. I wish I need to be better about trying to make them more specific. But this is and I started out with the best question too. So, if y'all watch The Simpsons, like enough to know the characters.
Yeah.
Okay, so Barney from The Simpsons, he's the one that is always getting drunk in the bar. Barney from The Simpsons was originally supposed to be Homer, as well as Nelson, the bully kid, being Bart. Legit or shit?
I'll go with shit.
I'll go with legit.
It is shit. There's so many reasons why it should have been. This is what's even going to be worse, though. Krusty the Clown was supposed to be Homer. That's what gave me the idea for this question. And the whole premise of doing that is because Bart idolizes Krusty. That was the only reason they were wanting to do it, and it just didn't. They never fitted into the lore. But that's why you never see Krusty. Well, you eventually do, but you never see Krusty out of uniform. That was the idea for a while. It's like his alter ego, which Homer's got a lot of alter egos. They've done everything by this point.
Yeah.
Maybe, hey, for all I know, I could have been right on the Barney thing. I didn't look it up.
Like, I could see that more
I had
than
to make it
anything
up.
else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because, like, Barney and Nelson look a lot alike.
Yeah.
Like, they look very similar. So that's why I was like, I'll pull that in there, too. I had to go through the characters, and I was like, is this a fact that I can convert? Because I do that pretty much. This is one for Nick. So Josh Turner's low voice. So the
Maybe lock the door and turn the.
Yeah, that thing. Well, I mean, he does it in a bunch of songs, but his lower pitch voice was discovered to be effective against mosquitoes as a mood killer, or like to uninspire them, basically to make
him not want to suck your blood.
Well, like just it just kind of puts them down. Like they're just kind of like not active.
Depresses them.
Yeah. They kind of like land in the water and they don't.
That's so outlandish. I'm gonna say legit though.
I'm gonna say who's Josh Turner.
He's the one that's like
he's a country artist, but he's got a really low voice.
That took it out of my range there.
Okay. He had another song that was more popular.
So baby, why don't we just dance? Yeah.
Anyways, he's just kind of like a mid 2000s country artist, basically. But that low note on that song that we were talking about, it's low.
Maybe lock the door and turn the lights.
It's
Okay,
really
I've heard
low.
that song.
Yeah, that's Josh Turner.
Well, I mean, that's not his song, but
technically, no, it's actually a Chris Stapleton song.
yeah, Chris Stapleton wrote that. So it is shit.
Damn, I was hoping that one would be true.
However, they did discover that with a Skrillex song, that the bass bumps were so low that they caused the mosquitoes to reproduce less.
Babe,
So
I just don't feel like getting on with you tonight. I heard
this
the Skrillex
bass drum.
song. I heard the Skrillex song, and it really just brought my libido down really low.
It just put me down. So, number 3. The typical pencil can draw a line 56 kilometers. That's 20 times the length of the Golden Gate Bridge. Legit or shit?
Oh,
That's a hard one.
that just seems crazy.
I've just gotten so good at this. Coming up with all this bullshit.
I'm gonna go with. Oh man,
It's a hard one.
I'm going to go with legit, but it's one of those things that you can almost never find out because the lead's always going to break.
Yeah, it'll break on you, and then you have to go find a pencil sharpener.
Yeah, it's like somebody saying, there's an Avenged Sevenfold song called "Exist," and there's this phrase at the end of it where this guy's like, "There are more stars in the universe than there are grains of sand on the world's beaches," and I'm just like, how the fuck is anybody supposed to? How does anybody know that? Like, so I don't know. I'm gonna go shit.
It is legit, and it's never been proven. It's one of those things of the measurability.
Right.
So it's kind of like you were saying, they couldn't necessarily take a pencil and go.
The possibility is there.
They can take the graphite and measure how far you can take it, like at a pinpoint, but not delivered by a pencil. Like there's no way someone would be able.
We doing it. We're going to a beach and we're
and
just
it is about to. So like
just by sharpening it, you lose graphite.
Exactly. You'll lose graphite by sharpening it if it breaks. So it's not like you can prove it that way, but they've done like basically taking the same amount that would go in a pencil and then measuring how far it would actually be able to write off of a device that they had, whoever these scientists were.
Somebody spent grant money.
Yeah, they said about.
Because nobody
I think it
cared.
was college. But it was a legit sort of thing. So really, I mean, saying shit is kind of fair because they couldn't say that every pencil would do that. But we're talking about the common pencil, 9 out of 10 sort of thing. Anyways, number 4. Nearly all Italian wine grapes are grown on vines grafted from Missouri. Legit or shit?
Legit.
Yeah, I'm going to say legit just because it's so off the wall.
This one is shit.
God bless. But wait, is it actually still Italy, though? Or is it somewhere else?
It's France.
France. Okay.
So France, they're the French. I think I've got the explanation. As to why this is, there it was. Yeah, I thought it had to do with a bug. So in 1860, the phylloxera, I think I'm saying that right, phylloxera bugs.
Velociraptor.
It sort of looks like that. These velociraptor bugs, they threatened the vineyards, but the roots that were found in Missouri vines were resistant to this bug. So basically, they called up Missouri and was like, "Hey, Missouri, can we have some of these before we lose all of our wine?" And they were like, "Yes." So then they shipped thousands upon thousands of root clumps from those plants, basically, and grafted them into their own fields, and it helped their grapes. But to imagine that was in 1862. So think about that. Like they knew that they could do that. That's what's even more insane. They knew that grafting was a thing.
God, I wish I could go back in time. That'd be so cool just to go experience shit before you had cameras and stuff like that. You know?
This is another one that's going to test y'all a little bit. So, Canadian locals keep their cars unlocked in case a polar bear is chasing someone. Legit or shit?
Canadians
I
do
did good
some
on
weird
this one.
things, so I'll say legit.
What do you know about Canada, Nick?
Trailer Park Boys.
Trailer Park Boys. I know Trailer Park Boys.
No Trailer Park
That's
Boys.
another thing that was shot. I don't have no idea how they were actually shooting that and somehow got it on TV. But more power to you. You inspired us all.
They literally just started with a camera and like a boom mic.
How did they get on TV that way? Was HBO?
No, it was a more like lesser known Canadian channel called Showcase.
Showcase.
That they were able to get
Oh
onto.
yeah, they were on Showcase, and then when we got it, it was through HBO, right?
I don't know.
Or
I've only ever
saw it on HBO.
I've only ever watched
kind
it
of
on
streaming thing.
I've only ever watched it on Netflix.
Okay.
So
Yeah, because I remember seeing like episodes that Keely, Cody's mom, had recorded. I'm not sure if you should do that, but she's awesome. She had episodes that I'm pretty sure they said HBO like at the beginning.
It might have been like if they were showing it in America. Once they were able to maybe show it in America, they might have shown it on
But
HBO.
now that you say the showcase thing, I remember seeing the show.
Because it's got that like drum.
It stops after a couple seasons. Yeah,
It's got that thing in the
but
beginning.
it does that for a little bit.
I'm gonna say shit.
This is legit.
God, I did awful tonight.
So there's a county or a city called Churchill, Canada, where residents mutually do this. They are aware that polar bears could be that close, and they're just... So nobody in Tennessee's like, I'm going to leave my car open because grizzly. Like, but Canadians actively thought of like, no, we've seen people chased by a polar bear. We're gonna try to protect our friends.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, that was
more power to them.
Yeah, I think you won that one.
Oh yeah.
I think that was my best legitter shit. Like as I was reading the questions, like I don't remember them sounding that batshit, but then like as I was reading them, I was just like, yeah. I think my favorite was the first one, and I think that's the one that I probably delivered the worst. But either way, that was a fun time. Well, thanks for joining us. And if there's any place that I always say this to people, if there's any place you would want somebody to find you, where is it?
I'm on Facebook.
Facebook.
And a
lot of people say no Facebook.
a lot of people do, but I'm old, so I'm still on Facebook.
Well, I mean, most of the time when I get somebody in here, they're just literally, I'm like, Facebook, and they're like, no. Like, so it's more like, find me on Spotify or YouTube or.
Yeah, for the film stuff, it's under A Darker World, and it's
okay.
I've got a website and a Facebook page.
Okay.
A Darker World?
Yeah.
Okay.
Would it be like adarkerworld.com or something like for the website? Or is the website through Facebook?
No, it's a legit website.
It's a legit website.
I was trying to remember if it was a darkerworld.com or a Darker World Productions, but I think it's a darkerworld.com.
Do me a favor when we're done here, whenever you get your, the earliest convenience for you, send me some links that I can put in our YouTube video.
A darkerworld.com. Darker World. It's a legit website.
Yeah, that's it.
Is that it?
Yep.
Awesome. So you can find him there. You can find him on Facebook. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
This has been
a
very
pleasure meeting you, man.
educational. And especially since we're movie buffs too. So, we also do this kind of tradition, before you take off is, basically what you'll do for us. This kind of opens up the episode, but it's, hi, my name is, and get disarranged. And that's all it is. So you can say just your first name. Some people deliver it as the podcast. Hi, this is whatever. Like, I think that's what Ethan did. He was like, hi, this is the Animist, and get disarranged. If you prefer it to be that way. However you want to do it, But it just kind of gives us an opening.
So like, hi, this is Jeff. Get disarranged.
Yeah, if you prefer to go with Jeff, that works. So let's try that one more time for me.
Hi, this is Jeff. Let's get disarranged.
Awesome. So you even ad-libbed the let's get. I like it.
Let's get disarranged.
there's the new theme song. Is that a thing?
Well,
It reminded me of a Def Leppard song.
I was about to say that was me channeling my inner 80s hair metal song there.
Maybe. Okay. So either in the Facebook group or down below, if you're watching on YouTube, tell us if that needs to be the new intro. Let us know, and Nick will decide. But again, thank you so much, and joining us so late. I know I've kind of got off work late. This is ran later than normal. But is there anything you want to give the people, Nick? Just a breath.
A breath.
You can still find us at our Facebook group. You can also find us on Patreon if anybody still wants to jump into that, I'll still be putting content up until y'all do. So, and also too, if you want mail time with Nick, it's getdisarranged@gmail.com. Y'all have to make that a thing. I'm going to start commissioning Needham to just mail you stuff just so I have content for the show. But anyways, it's been 2 weeks. We'll see you in 2 more. Have a great night or day, everybody, whenever you listen to this podcast.
Poopy.
Thanks, Nick.
Prepare to get disarranged.